Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, takeover news, and general chit-chat show on the channel where we're just going to sit here and talk all things United. And as soon as I go live, my laptop has to go, and the fan has to go, so hopefully there's no annoying background noise, but we've got a few interesting topics to talk about in today's show on the takeover on the Glazers. The Glazers are expected to leave Manchester United within 3 years, but the sooner the better. We're going to talk about why Blanc and Paul Mitchell are good additions to United, but why they might struggle initially because of the Glazers. We're going to speak about the January window and how that's still being impacted by Joel Glazer despite the transfer window. We're going to talk about Griezmann coming in. That news, I think it's a load of rubbish because I think his agent talked to get Griezmann a higher contract because he's been playing really well. And the transfer news keeps talking about us doubling Griezmann's salary. But we will talk about that. But we're going to talk about 5 players that United are 100% interested in looking at in January. Manchester United have got a list of 5 players that they are exploring a January move for. We're going to dive right into that, among many things. So, of course, do hit that like button. And, of course, do subscribe down below if you're new as well. Hamza says, yes, Alice, big up, love your videos, respect. Thank you to everybody that is tuning in. I think it's a bit... it's the international break, it's the November international break. We've not been having the best season, so I feel like it's always the worst sort of point. Another international break where we're not playing great and not loads is going on. But you've got to remember the takeover is happening, big changes happening behind the scenes. So we'll go through all the content. I've got a little bit of a presentation to share with you on some of the news. A lot of you have been saying that you like the new format in the videos where I break down at the start of the video what I'm going to talk about in each part of the video so people can scroll to the bit at the end if they want to listen to the bit at the end. And a lot of you have been saying that you just like the new format of the video. So we're going to quickly go through the news. Oh, where's my mouse? One sec. Give me 1 sec. I need to find my mouse because otherwise it's just going to be clack, clack, clack. 1 sec. Right, don't worry. I'm still here. I have not gone. I'm back. But a lot of you were saying that you like, of course, the sort of newer content with the news. So I thought, you know what we'll do, because in my short videos are more news based. I always aim my short videos to just be me going through the news, and then my live videos for like me talking about the news with you guys. That's what I do in my live stream. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to break down the news and the opening sort of 5 or so minutes of the stream, and then we're going to have a discussion about it, get into the live chat, talk about it as well. Look, I'm a big fan of Griezmann personally myself. Some of you guys are saying no to Griezmann. I'm a big fan of Griezmann, but I actually don't think it will happen. I think that he's been really good for Atletico Madrid this season. So as you can see, we're going to give you the latest on the injuries, then the latest on Griezmann, then our 5 January transfer targets. Then we're going to talk about how Ratcliffe's going to influence the January window, and then we're going to talk about why the Glazers must leave. So what is the injury latest for you guys? So Wan-Bissaka and Kobbie Mainoo are back. By the way, Wan-Bissaka did miss the last game before the international break with a slight injury, but he is back, he is fit. Wan-Bissaka and Kobbie Mainoo are expected to play. It was said by the Disco Mirror just now that Andre Onana's injury is not as bad as first feared, and the Manchester United keeper should be fit to face Everton at the weekend. Despite missing his Cameroon match, he should be fine to play Everton, and that Marcus Rashford, despite coming off injured versus Malta, is expected to be fine. So 2 injuries that we thought we maybe got this morning, we are fine with that. Malacia and Ahmad are training on grass and expected to be weeks away from a recovery, which is brilliant. We've kind of missed, I think we've missed Malacia more than we think because of Luke Shaw's injury. And I also saw a lot of people giving Malacia a stick saying he's rubbish. I see people saying he's rubbish, but Malacia was involved in the win versus Barcelona, the win versus Spurs, the win versus Liverpool, the win versus Arsenal. Like, I don't think he's an outstanding player, but I think Malacia was kind of like Zinchenko was for Man City, that kind of guy that can put in a shift when you need him here and there. But Malacia is back, and I think Amad Diallo coming back in will be important. I'm not sure if he's going to go back on loan to Sunderland. I think if we sign a right winger, he will. But with the whole Sancho and Anthony situation, it's such a shame that Amad got injured so early on, because maybe he would have got a chance. However, saying that, Pellistри's been brilliant on international break, and despite Sancho missing and Anthony being crap, I think Pellistri should have had more chances than he had. So I think one of Ahmad or Pellistri has to go for me on loan in January, because I feel like otherwise one of them's just not going to get the minutes they need as well. Griezmann's got ridiculous wages. We're going to talk about that as well. Will Reguilon get game time when Luke Shaw comes back because he's on loan? I think Reguilon's loan expires in January because Luke Shaw's expected back in December. Malacia is expected back in a couple of weeks. I think Luke Shaw... I think Reguilon goes in January anyway, so I don't think he's going to get much more game time for United. But I have to say, Reguilon was a transfer that when Man United brought Reguilon in, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, why are we bringing Reguilon in? why are we bringing Reguilon in? I'm thinking, and then I realised it's because Luke Shaw's injured, and I was like, fine. But Reguilon's been pretty impressive because there's been a few games where, you know what, Reguilon was one of the best players because he was one of the only people trying to prove himself. I've actually been, when Reguilon's played, I mean, we signed an injury-prone player to solve an injury crisis, but I actually been somewhat impressed with Reguilon. Højlund should be back in 2 weeks. There's a chance he may miss the Everton and Galatasaray game, but no more. I think United are going to put him on the painkillers and rush him back, which might, in the long term, not be a smart idea. But I think with the Champions League and Højlund being Mr. Ronaldo in the Champions League at the moment, I think he could even be back for Everton or Galatasaray. He could have missed 2 matches. It was said that Eriksen will be back in about 4 weeks. He's going to miss and come back probably early December. Probably about 3 weeks from now. Eriksen will be back. He's going to miss a few games, which for me, I see that as the golden opportunity for Mason Mount. I've been complaining and saying, look, I don't think Mason Mount's got enough game time for United so far. Ten Hag spent all this money on Mason Mount to barely play him. I mean, same with, of course, Amrabat. But I actually think when Mason Mount's played for United, he's been decent. I think he had 2 games where he was meh, but everyone was meh. And then he got injured for a bit. And then we were playing crap when he was injured. And everyone was saying it's Mason Mount's fault, why we're bad this season. But then we were worse when he was injured. Then he played a few games here and there, was man of the match, then got dropped because Eriksen had 1 good game, and then Eriksen and McTominay had iffy games, but then Eriksen and McTominay won't get dropped, and then Mount comes on, and he's always been decent. So I've always said I do want to see more of Mason Mount as well. We need Nico in January. I've got Nico Williams transfer news. I'm going to get into that. And one of the next slides, I've got the news on Nico Williams and who we're going for in January, so stay tuned for that as well. Remember, Pellistri's agent said last January that he wanted to leave, same as Ten Hag said about Bailly and Donny, which is why Bailly's gone and Pellistri and Donny don't really play. Potentially that could be why. I think Ten Hag's still a bit reluctant to play Pellistri, but I think Pellistri almost left on loan and then the Sancho situation happened and I think Pellistri stayed. I'm not quite sure, but I'd like to see more minutes for Pellistri because, as Finn said, he had a great game against Argentina. And we're not really using the guy, but he had a really good game versus Argentina. He has been decent on the international break. He has been good for the most part. But United just don't seem to be playing or utilising Pellistri anywhere near as much as they should as well. We need to lose both Champions League games so we can have 1 game per week per Xmas. Guys, this is my opinion. Do we win both games and progress to the next stage? Win one and lose the other and be in the Europa League? Or would you rather us lose both? I mean, for me, obviously win both games. We have to win both games and then hope that Galatasaray don't beat Bayern in the meantime, or we're out as well. But it's embarrassing, to be honest. The thing is, we would be a lot more safe. The annoying thing is and the worst part about this is when we were about half an hour into that game versus Galatasaray, when we had 11 men on the pitch, I thought we're going to win this. We were 2-0 up with Stolen. I thought it was a matter of time before we make it 3-0, and all we've got to do then is beat Galatasaray away, and we're out the group. Sorry if the connection's just gone a bit iffy there. And I thought we were going to be absolutely fine. I thought we were going to storm the Champions League. I really did. Not storm the Champions League, but I thought we were going to storm that Champions League game versus Copenhagen. We were 2-0 up versus Copenhagen. Had 11 men. I thought we were going to make it 3-4 versus Copenhagen. And then we lost that Copenhagen game, which literally made it very interesting. We've got to get a result in Turkey. We've got to beat Bayern Munich. It's going to be very, very hard to get out of the group. Had we beat Copenhagen, I think we would have got out of the group. But we bottled that, which is frustrating. A smash and grab in Turkey could be a thing as well. We need Bayern to beat Copenhagen and Galatasaray. Exactly. Continuing on as well, Luke Shaw is expected back in early December, and people do not realise how much we miss Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw makes Rashford better. Luke Shaw was one of our best players in build-up. Luke Shaw actually allows us to not have to play players out of position. Luke Shaw complements the back line well. He makes us play better in possession. He makes those overlapping runs that Rashford needs. A lot of people don't like Luke Shaw. He's been hit and miss at United, but he's very underrated in terms of when Luke Shaw is injured. It's been missed. Luke Shaw and Martinez on that left-hand side of defence has been massively missed. I tell you that now. And then Casemiro and Martinez aren't expected back till January. Manchester United making sure they don't rush Martinez back this time because they rushed him back. He wasn't playing great. They made his injury worse as well. And we're going to talk about transfer news about Martinez and Inacio as well. So that is the latest on the injury front. I want to get into the Griezmann story. And then we're going to talk a little bit more. I'm going to dive into more live chat. So what was actually said on Griezmann was just then Manchester United have made contact with the agent of Antoine Griezmann ahead of a potential move. It was said Man United are prepared to triple his current salary. Griezmann's release clause is thought to be around 25 million euros, which is 21.9 million pounds. Now, I think it's absolute BS because it's saying that United have had contact with his agents are going to triple his salary. I think that is Griezmann that's been playing well. He wants a new contract of a higher salary. He's in a situation where he's going to pretend Man United are interested because Man United are the only club that pay ridiculous money and give old players ridiculous contracts to probably see if he can get a better contract. I don't think United are in for Griezmann. I don't think it's going to happen. I think this is agent talk. I think that we're being used to spin a narrative to try and get Griezmann a better contract like Milinkovic-Savic used to do every year. But I think Ethan Talks made a really good point about Griezmann. And I think a lot of people go, Griezmann, I don't want him. Griezmann's trash. But Griezmann's not trash. I think Griezmann would be a good signing for United. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. And Ethan Talks sort of read my mind here. He said, absolutely zero chance this is true, but I would do anything to bring Antoine Griezmann here. There isn't a day that goes by where I think, what could have been? He had joined in 2017, love his evolution as a player too. He became what is essentially a zone 3 player in the later years. See him popping up on either flank in pockets of space or deeper or as a focal point of the attack to bring others into play. You do not have to use him in one of these specific roles because of his skill set so broad, a testament to his quality. He's one of those guys that could play anywhere across the front four. With our lack of goals, with our lack of threat and attack, I think Griezmann would give us a massive boost in January. Again, I don't think we're going to get Griezmann in January. I don't think there's any chance of it happening. But I generally think Griezmann for 21 million would probably really help us in terms of our problems going forward in January. We seem to be hopeless attacking. We seem to be hopeless going forward. And I would be down for a Griezmann addition. But as I've said, this guy, I think he's just using, his agent is just using United to get him a new contract. Sergio Ramos all over again. Milinkovic-Savic all over again. I personally don't think there's much truth to this thing. And what does Erik ten Hag think of signing Griezmann? Not sure. I think Erik ten Hag wouldn't turn it down, but I think it's not going to happen unless we're given crazy wages. Now, I want to talk about the 5 players United are looking at in January before we get into takeover news, before we get into other news, and that is Todibo and Inacio. They're looking at midfielders that include Onana, Fofana, Andre, also people like Palacios and João Neves, but they are seen as summer transfer targets and probably not available in January. There's Nico Williams, which depends on the Sancho sale, Marcos Leonardo and Taremi. So Manchester United, if their funds are available, which we're going to get into our next slide, would either bring in Todibo or Inacio, with Todibo right centre-back Sin as the priority, with Martinez returning and Luke Shaw returning, and fingers crossed they stay fit after returning. United are also looking at profiles that can sort of play in that 6/8 role with Andre, Fofana and Onana, profiles they're exploring. But again, I think that's very unlikely. I think midfield is a priority for the summer. Nico Williams would depend on if they got money for Sancho. Look, if Sancho went to Saudi Arabia for £50 million, which is not going to happen, Nico Williams, Nusa and Neto would be the 3 players United are exploring to replace him. And United are also looking at Taremi and Marcos Leonardo. From what I'm hearing, Man United would sign a right winger if the money is made from Sancho. And then they're also looking at a young striker and a centre-back, but it might depend on who leaves in January. Do they get a bit of money for Donny? And also the Ratcliffe situation. Will Ratcliffe be here in time to put an inflush of cash into the January transfer window, save our season? If we're not on track for top 4, that's not good for the Glazers. That's they're more likely to spend when we're not on track for top 4. The only good January transfer window we have is when we signed Bruno a few years under Oli when we weren't on track for top 4 and we got top 4. There's potential that there's going to be an inflush there, and Todibo's seen as the ideal target. Nico Williams is dependent on the Sancho sale, and United are exploring strikers who are expected to be under £20 million, like Leonardo and Taremi, to be a support striker for Højlund. It's also said, depending on injuries, could affect our transfer window. So let's say Højlund picks up an injury, the chances of signing Taremi will be twice as likely as signing him now. A lot of it will depend on who is sold, how much money is made, how quickly the Jim Ratcliffe deal does, because United is saying they can't spend anything in January unless they sell, but that's not the case. With FFP regulations, United could still spend up to £63 million, I read online, in January without having to sell anyone. So there is money there in January. It's just that, Joel Glazer doesn't want to spend it. Maybe Ratcliffe does if he can get power by then, but Joel Glazer is still overriding on the board, which is why in the title it says that the Glazers must leave ASAP, because we still can't do certain things till the Glazers leave. But I think if another centre-back gets injured, Todibo and Inacio pop up that list. I think midfielders will happen in the summer, but if a midfielder gets injured, potentially, Nico Williams depends on Sancho, and I think Marcos Leonardo and Taremi are being explored, but I think it could just depend on like how Ericsson got injured and we got Sabitzer, but we were never going to get a midfielder unless Ericsson got injured. I think it's one of those as well. I'd swap Casemiro for Ruben Neves all day long, says SM. Personally, I wouldn't. I know Casemiro hasn't been good this season, but I would keep Casemiro and hope that he gets back to his best. I think one of the reasons Casemiro's been poor is because he's old and he's dropping off, and I think with not having the good Luke Shaw and Martinez assisting and build up, Casemiro's flaws are being exposed. But I also think the system of having 2 8s play so far apart from Casemiro and requiring Casemiro to do so much defensively is catching him out. Had Casemiro had maybe someone playing deeper alongside him like he had with Fred and Eriksen last season, I think he would have benefited more. But I think, those red cards definitely did something to Casemiro last season, where he's been a bit bumpy since as well. Andre more likely joining Liverpool will be good for us at Liverpool. I have to say, I think Andre will go to Liverpool, unfortunately, and I think he will be very good for Liverpool. Liverpool are the favourites to sign Andre. I'd like to see him at United. I think he'd be really good, although he lacks the physicality that maybe you could say United need. But I expect Andre to go to Liverpool and end up just being a really good signing for Liverpool, because Liverpool seem to hit the nail on the head. They missed out on Bellingham, Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo and all those big money players. And then they go and spend 35 million on Gravenberch and they bring in Szoboszlai. They bring in Szoboszlai and Gravenberch and McAllister for the same as what Caicedo would have cost them, maybe a little bit more. And boom. I don't think McAllister's been brilliant, but Szoboszlai and Gravenberch have been really good. I did a video on Gravenberch on my second channel because I'm a big fan of a lot of the Ajax players. And I said why I think Gravenberch for 35 million could be one of Liverpool's best signings, and why I wanted them at United, because it was Gravenberch and Bellingham were the two midfielders spoken about, and then Gravenberch went to Bayern and it was just Bellingham. But I think Gravenberch has shown a bit of quality at Liverpool and he could be phenomenal. And it really annoys me that we never got rid of McTominay, because had we got rid of McTominay a little bit earlier, there was the expectation that Gravenberch would have replaced McTominay and Amrabat obviously replaces Fred, which is really annoying because Gravenberch would have been good for this United team right now. But we have to move on as well. As Alex said, we have to start being more proactive in the market and look to the future. We always overpay and scrambling last minute as well. And the thing is, Man United will say they'll do nothing in January, We'll get an injury January 27th and we'll bring in someone on deadline day. That's honestly how I expect it to happen. I think Sancho's going to go on loan, which means we can't get Nico Williams. But there's no excuse for United not to get Nico Williams, because his contract expires in the summer. So if I am Man United, I get Nico Williams on a pre-agreement. I say, you know what? Even if we can't bring Nico Williams in January and we lose Sancho in January, get Nico Williams on a pre-agreement to join for 3 in the summer. That's what United should be doing. And maybe with Jim Ratcliffe coming in and Blanc and Paul Mitchell and some competent people coming into Manchester United, maybe that will happen. But who knows? We will speak about João Neves, but that's more likely to happen in the summer. Let's get into more news, people. So what else did I want to speak about? I wanted to speak about the January window, what was said by Ben Jacobs, what was said by a few sources about what Man United are going to do in the January window. And then I'm going to get into my point about why the Glazers have to leave United. We can celebrate Blanc coming on, we can celebrate Mitchell coming in, we can celebrate a few January signings, and we can say, look, things are looking good, we're getting a major boost, things are looking up. But there's still going to be Joel Glazer, the main man on the board, still having an influence on United, and we're never going to get the freedom until they are gone. And I think this is an example of this here. It was said by Ben Jacobs, according to reports, Sir Jim Ratcliffe's imminent takeover of Manchester United is unlikely to impact the club's January transfer plans. Ben Jacobs said, it is believed players will need to be offloaded by the billionaire's new regime if any signings are to be made in January. The Union Sport businessmen are poised to take control of 25% of Man United in the coming days as a full agreement inches closer. Ratcliffe is expected to take control of the footballing operations despite not holding a majority stake of the club. The UK's richest man and his team are eyeing up the appointment of a director of football, Paul Mitchell, as he looks to reshape the structure of United. But it's likely that the summer window next year is where the tangible changes will happen and be noticeable. They're seeing things are unlikely to happen in January unless players are sold. From what I'm hearing, in 2024, and if there's an opportunity to do it in January, I think they will, but it will probably happen in the summer. But in 2024, Man United's plan is to pretty much get rid of Donny, Anthony, Sancho, Casemiro, Varane, McTominay, potentially even knowing Arnold will give him a new contract because he's played a few good games and as well, because they did want him gone. And there's a few big name players that United are ready to clear out, like Martial as well. And then United want to bring in a number 6, a number 8, potentially a right back, but that's kind of slid to the back of the list because a 6 and an 8 is seen as the priority. Another striker, another right winger, and 2 centre backs. So United want 2 centre backs, a DM, a number 8, a right winger, and a striker, and potentially a right back, which could be 7 signings. I think we'll get 5 of them in 2024 max, and with 7 potentially going out, which could be a big plan. But it's again said, unless we sell people in January, and what can Man United do badly? Selling. We don't sell. We won't get money for anyone. I don't think we're going to get money for Martial in January. I don't think we're going to get money for Donny in January. I don't think we're going to get money for Sancho in January. So I would say expectation for the January transfer window as a Manchester United fan right now is particularly low. Nico Williams seems an ideal signing, young and almost out of contract. We need him much more than City. 100% agree. Man City are now the favourites to sign Nico Williams. You know what annoys me? Man City have Julian Alvarez, they have Foden, they have Grealish, they've just signed Doku, who's doing phenomenal. They have all these good players, Manchester City, Bernardo Silva as well. And I'm looking at Nico Williams and I'm thinking, we've got Anthony and Sancho, whereas you've got all those players, Man City, all those players. And we've got Anthony and Sancho's going, we need a right wing. And Nico Williams is there, the perfect profile, the young right winger, the player we need. Nico Williams is there. You can sign him on a pre-contract and bring him in for 3 in the summer. And United are sitting there and ignoring it. It winds me up. It winds me up. Doku has been insane for Man City. I know he was poor in the Chelsea game, but he's been really good. I agree as well. We did Donny dirty. He's one of the few players at United who can actually play football and not just counter-attack, and Ollie didn't have to use him. I agree. I think that we didn't have to use Donny well, and we didn't let him out when we should have let him out. Gravenberch went to Bayern Munich. He's left Bayern Munich. He's already looking a lot better at Liverpool. Donny, when he did leave United, got injuries. Donny, when he got a chance at United, got injuries. But we never utilised Donny to his strengths. And I'd say Donny is a flop, but Donny's one of those players I have sympathy for because I feel like he's a flop, but he never got a chance. He never got a chance as well, which is such a shame as well. Anyway, continuing on to the next story. Paul Mitchell and Blanc are brilliant, but as we just saw with that last story, this Man United can't buy anyone in January until we sell. Even though Jim Ratcliffe's got 25%, he's only taken 12.5% of the Glazers share. They're still majority shareholder. Joel Glazer still has the final say on the board meetings. As much as Mitchell can come in and Blanc can come in, when it comes to transfer spending, there's still going to be that ratty Glazer at the top controlling Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So while Mitchell and Blanc are brilliant, it's the real change at United might not happen 2-3 years until the Glazers are gone. It said I said here the real change won't happen until the Glazers go. So Jim has sporting control, but Joel Glazer has the ultimate say on the board. The Glazers have stayed at Man United and they will milk money from the club. There's a reason they wanted to stay at United. Expect them to take out dividends these next few years for their final years in the club and then cash in big again when Ratcliffe gives them another 650 million as well. And so don't let a few signings maybe in January and a few board appointments distract us from the fact that a full sale must happen, because the sooner Ratcliffe is majority owner, the better. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of Ratcliffe coming in at all, but I've said I want a full sale. All I want is a full sale to owners that will actually have Manchester United's success on the pitch as their best interest over financial results. And if Ratcliffe's going to do that, then the sooner we get a full sale, the better. And we might get a few signings in January. It's looking unlikely. It's looking like Joel Glazer still has strings. We might get Paul Mitchell. We might get Blanc, and that is good, and we can be positive. But we can't let, a signing or the addition of Blanc or Mitchell distract us from the fact that we need to continue protesting for the full sale. We still need the full sale to happen for things to change. You can change the board, you can change the structure, but if Joel Glazer is in those board meetings, which he will be, as the majority shareholder, having the most control over decisions, as much as Jim Ratcliffe would want to change sporting things, Joel Glazer can hit that big red buzzer and say no. And they have to go. 100% have to go, because when you look at the Glazers, I don't know how they were allowed to become owners of United. It's an absolute disgrace. But when you look at the Glazers, you've got to see the fact that they borrowed money to buy this club. And then when they borrowed money to buy this club, they then put the debt on the club. Man United had zero debt. The Glazers borrowed like 400 million or so to buy the club, 560 million or so to buy the club. Then they just put that on the club as debt. And then they've just let the interest stack up, and the debt raised to 1 billion, which now Sir Jim is going to have to take care of. So they're never going to have to pay off that debt or actually pay any of their own money into Manchester United, which is a joke. They've taken over 1 billion out in that time. They've listed us on the stock exchange so others can make profit of us. Someone's, just done a 17 million share in United the other day to make profit from us. The stadium and facilities in the 18 years they've been here, they've not invested a single penny to do any major renovations. We had dividends out. They say every January they would take out dividends and say there's no value in the transfer market, whether it's Fergie, Moyes, Mourinho, Ten Hag, Ollie. We could never do anything in the January market because there was no value in the market, but they would take 30 million out when you could have spent that and brought in Julian Alvarez and Enzo Fernandez that Ragnick said we should have done in January. No, you gave yourself 30 million as well. And then, of course, they just employed Ed Woodward and absolute clowns to run this club, burn through cash. And You've got to remember, we're a football club, not a business. The sooner they're gone, the better. So Jim might be coming in, Blanc might be coming in, Mitchell might be coming in, but the Glazers are still there. And remember what these Glazers are like. They don't have any interest in our footballing success. They do not have any interest in Manchester United and their future. They only care about how much money they're going to make out of United. So as long as they're still here, having a say, being involved in board meetings, we can't expect any major change. So we need to remember that. I wanted to make a point of showing that up in my video. Do hit that like button, of course, if you Glazers out. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I do want to get us through a few chats as well. I'm surprised Donny's still not getting in even a game here and there. Our centre mid options have been bare at times. Yeah, Dan Gore and Mejbri have been going in ahead of Donny van der Beek. I think Donny van der Beek's just... I think Ten Hag was frustrated with Donny van der Beek because he had an opportunity to go in January to some French club. And I think Donny thought he would find a better club. So instead of moving to this French club in January, Donny just assumed that he was going to find a better club or some better football teams were going to come in for him. So Donny just waited for Lazio and Real Sociedad, who then didn't come in for him because of his wage demands. And then Donny was stuck staying at United. And I think Ten Hag got frustrated with that because he was trying to offload Donny, which almost meant that he couldn't get Amrabat, which we ended up getting in the end because that was somewhat reliant on Donny. And I think Ten Hag, frustration with Donny and the fact that his head wasn't here. And Ten Hag even said in the Arsenal game, Donny van der Beek's not in the squad because his head's not at the club he expected to leave, which is why the likes of Gore and Mejbri and Moore are sort of coming in and being more involved than Donny as well. We still have been without many players, but still managed. Look, we've had 22 different injuries this season, or 21 different injuries this season, more than any other team. And to be honest, best form team in the league, people, best form team in the league. But do you know what's annoying is we've got Everton next that actually been playing well lately and have got that points deduction boost, which hopefully doesn't give them a boost. And we can get a result versus Everton. Jim needs majority ASAP, even with football and control. The parasites can still throw their weight around financial side. 100% smash the likes if you agree. Alice, in 3 years' time, the Glazers will be gone. 3 years' time, we need them gone now. We need them gone ASAP as well. Big up everybody in the chat. We've got a few Arsenal fans in here as well. Glazers will leave after 2026. They must go and they must absolutely hurry up. For me, the most important thing right now is just, can those Glazers go? Can they hurry up and leave? Can they do this? Can they do that? But let's actually talk about Manchester United, the situation we're in. We'll see if any other news has come out as well. But do you know what? As bad as this season has been, I'm actually somewhat positive. Lag there. I'm actually somewhat positive that we're not in that bad of a situation. I know that the season's been bad. I know there's been a few negatives. But I actually think Man United are in probably a better situation than a lot of people think. So if we look at the Premier League table here, Manchester United actually top of the form table. I know, on 21 points. We are 4 points off Villa. Now, you've got to remember, this season, 5th place gets you in the Champions League. Unless, like Man United, all the other English clubs do crap in Europe. The fact that Villa are doing well in Europe, Brighton are doing well in Europe. I think Man City, unfortunately, and Arsenal will do well in Europe. Newcastle might crash out. 5th place will probably get you in the Champions League. So, as of now, so we're probably going to qualify for the Champions League next season if we actually stay on these 1-0 win tracks. So we are 4 points off Champions League qualification, you could say. We are 5 points behind Tottenham. We are 6 points behind Arsenal and Liverpool, and we're 7 points behind Man City. But I'm just going to say this now. Has Man United been good? Absolutely not. Do we deserve to be anywhere near the top of the table? Absolutely not. But when you look at a few factors like VAR decisions, the amount of ridiculous VAR decisions that have gone against us, you look at the injuries we've had. The mad thing is, if we didn't have the injuries we had, and like against Arsenal, that VAR decision didn't happen, so then we won the game, we'd be on 24 points, Arsenal would be on 24 points. Like the way I see it, and maybe I'm just being crazy here, but if that Onana thing didn't happen versus Wolves, and everyone made a big fuss that we were Manchester United, and since then VAR's been out to get us, the Romero handball, the foul on Højlund, the penalty we should have got versus Arsenal, the Garnacho goal that was ruled out, which was literally in line versus Arsenal, the amount of silly goals we've had ruled out. If VAR wasn't against us, I think we'd have 4 more points this season. I think we'd be on 25 points this season if VAR wasn't against us, and Arsenal would be on 24, and we'd probably be joint 5th or joint 4th right now with 22 injuries. I think if we hadn't had the injuries, we hadn't had VAR against us, there's a chance we could generally be sitting there with like 26 points, 27 points or something, like right at the top of the table. Not that we deserve to be there. Not that I'm saying we're going to be there. I'm just making a lot of excuses. So don't spin what I'm saying out of control. I've watched us play. We're absolutely shocking. But this is why I generally back Ten Hag. He is grinding out results, playing crap football with a crap side. I get that. I don't like his substitutions. I don't like his bad man management. I don't like the way we're playing. But Luke Shaw back, Martinez back, a few key players back, Mount gets involved more. Maybe we integrate Amrabat more and get over this McTominay obsession and get maybe a signing or two in January and then actually start to get some luck with VAR. Because we're only 7 points off top, which considering how bad we've been is not too bad, but we're 5-6 points. We're 4 or 5 points away from Champions League. So I still think there's a chance to finish in the Champions League spots next season. And I'd actually say this, and then call me mad, call me crazy. Finish bottom of the Champions League group. Leave the Champions League now. Focus on the league. Get 4th place. If we had 1 game a week between now and the end of the season and we crashed out the Champions League and we've got players back from injury and VAR gave us some luck, generally think we can finish in the top 4. Maybe I'm being crazy positive because the way we're playing gives me no indication that we're going to finish in the top 4 because we're not playing well. I think Villa are better than us, Newcastle are better than us, and they're below us. And we've got a harder run coming in as well. But I think, look, Arsenal have been miles better than us. They've scored miles more goals. Liverpool have been miles better than us. We are nowhere near as good as Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, Villa, or even Newcastle this season. But part of me thinks there's a chance. But play needs to improve. If the play doesn't improve, I can't see nicking 1-0 results continuing. It's not sustainable at all. The thing that does worry me is more, if you look at Manchester United here, is more the matches. Everton will be difficult. Newcastle will be difficult. Chelsea will be difficult. Bournemouth will win. We've got 3 difficult Premier League games in a row. Then we've got Liverpool at Anfield, which you might as well just say 0 points and just hope that it's damage control and you lose 1 or 2-0, not 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7-0. West Ham away, it's always a difficult game. West Ham are a bit of a bogey team for us. Villa at home is going to be difficult. So you can also look at it and go, Everton's not going to be easy. Newcastle and Chelsea are going to be hard. Bournemouth will be easy. Liverpool will be hard. West Ham's a bogey team. Villa at the moment is going to be hard. Nottingham Forest we should win. Tottenham, again, that's going to be hard. Wolves we should win. West Ham's a bogey team. Aston Villa again. Okay, Luton fine. Fulham fine. Then you got Man City-ish. But you do look at the fixture list coming up, particularly the next 5 games. And 1, 2, 3, 4 of the next 5 games is, I think, will be difficult. And we might not even be favourites to win that right now. But Newcastle is weak right now with their injuries. But Newcastle came to Old Trafford with their C team with their injuries and still pumped us 3-0. Absolutely obliterated us. So you can say, oh, look, Newcastle's weak right now, this and that. But their weak team is still miles better than us. Like, that's the thing. Like, Newcastle might be weak right now. Newcastle might not be playing their best right now. But Newcastle's weak team is miles better than us at the moment. It's so infuriating as well. Keep smashing the likes, guys, as well. For all the best news, do subscribe. Big up Diego as well. I do go live every evening at about 6:30 p.m. a little bit later tonight because I'm going to get back home till later. I will say this, international break, it's more lives every other day. Whereas during football it's live every evening and then short videos in the day. The real test will be against tougher opposition on the way. We've been scrapping against the later sides as of late, absolutely. I think that's the real test for United, how we're going to do against the big opposition as well. Toon just battered us, poor play won't hold up against better sides, which is true, especially us being outrun in the midfield. But I am excited for Mount to get a run of games with Eriksen's injury. I'm not sure if Mount and Bruno is going to completely work because they like to look at the same areas and complement each other. But I do think that Mount, if he was playing next to a competent DM and played in a deeper role, I think, look, I never wanted us to sign Mason Mount. I never thought he was the ideal profile. But I think that Mount can bring those legs, can bring that energy. And I think Mount's better suited to certain games than Eriksen. But he's sort of been favouring Eriksen because he had a few good games. I don't think Man United can bring any meaningful players in January. Players need to know that they're coming to a club that has a positive trajectory, not part of an ongoing problem. And I get that. I think a lot of players will look at United right now and go, could I ruin my career going here? Because we're known to ruin careers. We're known to ruin managers' careers as well. Unfortunately, we're a club that has a reputation for ruining careers and ruining managers' careers and doing this and doing that. And I hate to say, oh, we ruin careers and stuff, but we do. And maybe it's partly the players' fault. We bring players in with the wrong attitude, this and that. I think, yeah, it's probably a big part of it that is the players' fault. But I do sit here as a Manchester United fan and think, I feel like we've ruined loads of careers. It's not been good at all. We could hammer you at Anfield, says Derek. I do worry about that Liverpool game. The Liverpool at Anfield. Do you know what? Winning, if we went to Anfield and even got a draw, it feel like winning a trophy because I think Anfield's become that place where we don't win, but then it's got worse. It's gone from 4-0 to 7-0. It's almost like if we go to Anfield and scrap a 0-0, it's going to feel like you've won the bloody league. Because I tell you what, Anfield I'm worried about. Part of a smart recruitment, find those hungry players wanting to play for us, 100%. And that's why I like the likes of Nico Williams, hungry young player that potentially may want to play for Manchester United and could be exactly what we need. How many likes are we on, guys? Let me know, you people watching below, how many likes we're on, because I'd obviously love to hit the like target of 150 likes if we can keep hitting the like button as well, people. But let's dive into the final news stories. It's not going to be a super long live stream because, as I said, international break, there's never crazy news going on as well. Kai Havertz is playing left back tonight with Germany in news coming in as well. Kai Havertz is just playing a bit of everywhere. This is when Kai Havertz just becomes a left back as well. I don't know why Kai Havertz is playing left back, but that will be interesting to see how Kai Havertz done. But 1 minute he's a striker, 1 minute he's a midfielder, the next minute he's a winger, the next minute Kai Havertz is a left back. But then Fred played left back, but Fred was a lot more suited to left back as well. Apparently Jadon Sancho is out partying with someone. I don't think he is. I've not seen much of that. I think people just trying to make up rumours and stuff. Oh, I wanted to show you this. Let me get up what I wanted to show you quickly here, people. Bruno Fernandes, one of the most disrespected players in the Premier League. This is progressive passes per 90 and key passes per 90. And look who's in that top corner, Bruno Fernandes. Look who's in that bottom corner, Scott McTominay. Okay, Casemiro also, progressive passes is pretty high, but key passes is poor. Bruno Fernandes is in a league of his own. Cole Palmer's getting a lot of praise for it. But Bruno Fernandes, key passes per 90, progressive passes per 90 is in a league of his own. I thought a lot of people are saying Bruno's trash, writing him off. I don't think Bruno's having a very good season. But someone said to me, who have been Man United's 3 best players this season? And I would probably say Maguire, Højlund and Bruno. Right now. Maguire, Højlund and Bruno. I would have said Varane a few weeks ago. I think Wan-Bissaka's not been bad when he's played, but he's been injured for big parts of the season. I think Onana's stepped up. I think come into the season it could be Onana. But I think Bruno, I don't think he's been good this season by his standards, but I think people think Bruno's been a lot worse than he actually has been this season. He's just been playing in a poor system with poor players in a team that was scraping 1-0 wins, so we can't get the output. But I think he's been one of our better players this season, but he's not been good. I think Varane was decent when he played. Maguire's been decent as of lately. Wan-Bissaka's not put a foot wrong when he's played. Bruno's been all right, but he's been hot and cold. But I mean, it just shows how bad we've been. I mean, Højlund hasn't got a Premier League goal, but he's probably in top 3 for Premier League player of the for Man United player of the season. But I think Højlund's been really promising in Champions League. I mean, who would you say has been Man United's player of the season? Maybe I'm crazy. Who would you say has been Man United's player of the season? But I think that's one of the most difficult questions you could ask right now in football is who's been Man United's best player this season? Because really no one as well. She deserves all the likes, big up people as well. Maguire, why don't you have McTominay to make it sound better? Well, McTominay's not been good. He's just scored a few goals. Maguire actually has had some good games as well. What's the Griezmann announcement? I spoke about Griezmann about 10 minutes into the live stream, so do scroll back for that. Maybe Onana. Maybe Onana as well. He's been really good since that Copenhagen save. Alice gets way more likes per watches than the big channels I've watched as deserved. Big up everybody in the chat, everyone supporting the channel. I know it's that international break, so it's not the most exciting time to be in a football live stream, but big up everybody watching as well. Part of smart recruitment, find those hungry players wanting to play. I've read that out, didn't I? Wanting to play for us as well. I feel like for Højlund, he's been a bright spot, but he shouldn't be leading the line every match at this point. Yeah, and I think, remember, Ten Hag wanted Kane and Højlund, but then the price became unfeasible. Ten Hag always wanted an experienced striker and Højlund to be the second striker to ease him in. Like, people will give Højlund stick, but remember, the plan was never for Højlund to play week in, week out and be the starting striker week in, week out as well. Maguire could be most improved player this season, but it is really hard to sit there and think who's been Man United's best player this season when actually the options for that are quite minimal as well. But anyway, people, please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. It said that Onana should be fit. Griezmann's an option we're exploring, but I think the Griezmann news is absolute bullshit. But I am going to wrap up the live stream here. So if you do hit that like button, which we hit 150, big up. Do subscribe as well. And it's unfair on the player. Højlund needs time to adjust and adapt. Exactly. A big fan of Rasmus Højlund. I won't criticise him. He needs time to adjust and adapt. People like Garnacho are young. I'm just not going to criticise them anyway as well. But yeah, I think I'm going to try and be as positive as I can. Glazers out as always. Great job, Alice. Found you end of last year when all the takeover news started and been it every day since. Big up, Sky, and big up everyone in the chat. See you next time. And of course, bye.